This is October 25th advanced class, and we're going to get into outsidery things. I can do this real quick without showing. I have cabinets. No, that's a child. Fancy cabinets in my room that you see over there, and then one confused child, which means I had to adjust how the filming is working in my room. So it's going to be all kinds of weird here for a bit as we try to figure stuff out, because when they installed stuff, they didn't really care about my teaching. They just cared about putting things on walls. And so it's made things all kinds of weird and wonky, but we'll get to it from there. Let's see, I do not have carpet on the ground. If you look down there, there's still no carpet, so we're out of luck on that one. And I think we're good to go. Silly.
You spelled break wrong. Oh, you put the wrong one.
There you go, man. It's spelled correctly. It's just not the correct. I was trying to be more subtle on this one. I thought maybe if I just spelled a different break, then apparently not so much. Let's see, from there we have no missing work except for kids in my other class. I'll torture them. Let's go back to this one. Real quick, if you have not checked B points in grade, if you want to check B points in grade real quick, you can, and then I'll have you put the iPadological thing away, because we'll talk about the B points here in the next part of it also. Oh, grade-wise, we only have 3 grades in my class so far, which were the 3 grades you guys did before break, the 3 little writing things you had to do. And so that's all that you have to do for me. This week, we only have 1 grade, technically, because the homework's not going to be due until next week. I'll assign it Thursday. It won't be due until Monday. Maybe Tuesday, probably Monday. But then your other grade is going to be the quiz this week, which covers the book up through the end of chapter 4. And just so you realize, that's like a huge chunk of your overall grade. So just trying to give you a heads up as far as that one goes. If you don't do well on that one, it'll definitely majorly impact what your grade is in class. So hopefully giving you guys a heads up thing there. No questions over grade thingy jigger arm. Then this thing we are also now done with. And so I did decide any kid who at least attempted it, even if you failed, you still got B points for it. So even if you did it and it took you like 45 seconds, we laughed at you, I still give you B points in the end. So go you for that one. And then those of you who did like the highest in this class, you got an additional points on top of that one. But I was trying to be nice, but we're not going to. I'll leave it up there this week just for bragging rights for kids to get a chance to see things. But I'm not planning on torturing you anymore with that, mostly. Questions as far as that goes? JK, it's 3rd period. All right. There. Let's see. And then again, for the reading this week, I'm going to try and get through most of chapter 1 and 2, and then maybe part of 3, depending on how things go. We're going to start, might get to the killing bits, but I don't think we're going to get to the killing bits. You may have to guess. There's killing bits in this book. You may have to get to the killing bits all on your own. And for those of you who hate killing bits, you're out of luck. We do that a lot. But those of you who don't like reading, on Outsiders page, again, I have a whole bunch of audiobooks that you're welcome to use, and you go clicky, and it'll play all the audiobook things for you if you just want to listen to those to try and help you out. Gotcha? All right. Then, because it's been a hot minute, almost 2 weeks, just short of 2 weeks since the last time we read the book, there's every chance some of these thoughts might not be in your head, because you might not remember anything about the book. You might not even remember that the book exists. Let's see, friends are always more important than family. We're in the process now of meeting Ponyboy and his friends and figuring out that, well, one, Ponyboy's family's dead, or his parents died, which he told you at the very beginning of it, so that's kind of hard to make them. The other one, they have pretty messed up home lives. Any kid that gets attention at the principal is a bad kid. As we get into it, we'll figure out, like Ponyboy's friends, they rob stores and stuff like that. They're pretty bad kids, but it's sort of how do you define it. I would intervene if I saw my bully getting beat up. We're going to get to that here coming up shortly with the whole killing of a kid. Loudly announce to the whole class that someone has ugly clothes, an example of bullying. We're kind of going to touch on that here coming up in a moment. And then reporting my BFF for doing something majorly bad, that's not the section you have to read on your own. But at least it gets us going in that direction. All right. Bookie thing. Just reminding you, this is what your homework is going to be Thursday. So you're going to have to make the 10 connections between the thing in the book and then your life in some way. My goal is at the end of class today, or maybe beginning of class tomorrow, we're going to take time for you guys to go through and do some sharing of them. And I'll continue to share mine as I get to mine. All right. Let's see, things we have in the book. Where did we leave off with you guys? I think we were just going through and doing talky bits about people. Let's see, we got to, we're getting ready to talk about Dally Winston. All right. So we got to Paul Newman. Let's see, Ponyboy, beginning of story. Where is Ponyboy leaving from? leaving from a movie theater, which is why Paul Newman's up there, because he's the movie theater person. Who's in this thing? And then, what food item does his family, or does his face connect to?
Salad dressing.
Nicely done. Not gonna be on a quiz, just curious if you guys remember your salad dressing. Hi, Taylor.
While I was at the grocery store, I saw he has a pizza.
He does. They've expanded on. They also have like pizza sauce and salad dressing. He also does salsa for chips. And so yeah, if you go to the grocery store, you'll see his face popping up on a number of different things. The pizza's new that I didn't know about, but I knew he did salsa, sauce, and salad dressing. Usually it's gooey things, so apparently they just moved from there to pizza. So sure, why not? The connections that you guys make. And now the cool thing would be like, if you guys see that, you can now make like a comment to your parents. They're gonna think you're all smart. You'd be like, that's Paul Newman. He's an actor from like a long time ago. And your parents will go, ah, you're so smart. And you'll go, ah, like bonding and stuff like that. Let's see, that's there. Ponyboy, Soda Pop, Dairy, the three brothers, last name Curtis, then their friends, Johnny, 2-Bit, Steve, Dally. I think we got into 2-Bit and Steve. We've not done Johnny and Dally yet. We're going to meet them here in a second. And then we have our greasers. Who is it the greasers fight?
The socials.
And what does SOCIA stand for?
Socials.
Socials. How would you describe the socias?
Annoying.
That describes every teenager. You might have to be slightly more specific than annoying.
Fancy?
You say fancy?
Stuck up.
Happy?
Alright. Those sound slightly more accurate. I like fancy. It makes me think like they drink their water with little fingers sticking up all the time, which might not, that might just be a SpongeBob thing. But yes, I would go for the rich and the stuck up and probably annoying on some level. But they probably find the greasers annoying, so it could work both ways. There's our fancy little people. Let's see. Who's in the red Corvair?
The socials.
Socias. What do they attempt to do?
Beat up.
And then let's see. Alright, hang on. I'm writing myself a note before I forget. Pausing, home children. And we're back. I was writing myself a note to bring in stink juice. Because that's when they were holding down Ponyboy and he couldn't smell anything except for the, they don't call it stink juice, thank you, shaving cream lotion-y stuff, and then also cigarettes. I'm not going to bring in cigarettes for you to smell. On that one, I'm sorry. You'll just have to go hang out with your friends to smell cigarettes. You're out of luck for me.
Are you encouraging our friends to smoke?
No, I'm just saying I don't smoke, and I assume your friends do. Because, hooligan 7th graders hanging out, robbing liquor stores and stuff like that. Things that 7th graders do.
Your sister doesn't have that much money. You have to
Then-
figure out bigger stores.
Now I have a pop bottle that I can now smash in case of the student revolution. Bowen has given me a weapon with now to defend myself. Thank you, Bowen. So now as soon as the kids try to revolt, I can smash it and I'll go, outsiders forever! And I can start stabbing. I would never stab a child, that's wrong. But I would defend myself from a student revolution if the kids were coming at me, while educating them about literary references. Let's see, and then we have our empty lot, and then we have a kid's house, which is creepily in that same area. And then that's where I think we're ready to go. And then who wears the madras?
The socials.
Again, that looks so happy and apparently annoying. And then that guy just, I've got nothing. Looks like he's just staring dead into your soul. What I would like to do is wear this with that shirt and that jacket as like just one full ensemble thing, and then watch people's brains melt. I guess I would wear those shorts. I wear with that skirt though, but I was thinking probably those ones. Oh, those pants, look at that, all.
You have to have them match. They have to be the same design. So
No,
you camouflage.
you gotta have like different ones to vary it up.
No, just
If it's all-
fully camouflage.
Yeah, if it's all the same color, it looks like camouflage. I can like fade in the background, like whole different ones. You can watch people's brains melt. And then to there, and then we did get to the cowlick, the hair sticking up in the back, because that was dairy. And then the cocked eyebrows, we did talk about the Spanish version. Sorry, never paid attention to his chin before. In fact, it has the letter E written on it. You think that's supposed to be a beard hair?
Yes.
Yeah.
One single beard hair.
Why did you think it was?
I don't know, but I've never paid attention to it. There's that picture behind me. The fact that it just has like a letter. I think it's like carved into his chin. Not over there. We did get to hubcaps. I'll try to bring in the hubcap also. Hang on. Let me write that down. Did anyone get a chance to steal hubcaps over break to try and make some extra fat? I'm so proud of you. Nicely done, Taylor. I mean, that's how you're supposed to make your fat cash out there. You should make at least 25, 30 cents, depending on who you find to buy
I
them.
took them off the wall at Chewy's like you told me to.
They're probably the metal ones there, which is probably, those can form like little drums that you can hit, and I can probably make you an extra nickel. All right, we got to that guy, then we got to our. There we go. Now, let's see where we left off with you guys. We got through all the beginning stuff. Now we're going to find out about Dolly. I guess I should. And then to there. All right. So, Dallas Winston. We're on page 10 because it takes forever to read. If I had to pick, home children, we're on page 10. We're going to get to the part finding out about Dolly. If I had to pick the real character of the gang, it'd be Dallas Winston. Dally. Now, I used to like to draw his picture when he was in a dangerous mood, for then I could get his personality down in just a few lines. He had an elfish face with high cheekbones and a pointed chin, small, sharp animal teeth, and ears like a lynx. His hair was almost white. It was so blonde, and he didn't like haircuts or hair oil either. So it fell over his forehead in wisps and kicked out in the back in tufts and curled behind his ears and along the nape of his neck. His eyes were blue, blazing ice, cold with a hatred of the whole world. Dally had spent 3 years on the wild side of New York and been arrested at the age of 10. He was tougher than the rest of us. Tougher, colder, meaner. The shade of difference that separates a greaser from a hood wasn't present in Dally. He was as wild as the boys in the downtown outfits, like Tim Shepard's gang. In New York, Dally blew off steam in gang fights, but here, organized gangs are rarities. There's just small bunches of friends who stick together. The warfare is between the social classes. A rumble, when it's called, is usually born of a grudge fight, and the opponents just happen to bring their friends along. I mean, there's a few named gangs around, like the River Kings and the Tiber Street Tigers, but here in the Southwest, there's no gang rivalry, so Dally, even though he could get into a good fight sometimes, had no specific thing to hate, no rival gang, only socias. And you can't win against them, no matter how hard you try, because they've got all the breaks, and even whipping them isn't going to change that fact. Maybe that's why Dallas was so bitter. Quick pause. They're going to talk about rumbles a lot. Do you know what a rumble is? If you don't know what a rumble is, so let's say Sam and I have beef, and we keep trash talking each other. And normally, if he and I get into an issue, we're just going to punch each other because that's what men do. But then at some point, we're like, ooh, Sam's going to beat me up, and that kind of scares me, so I have to bring some friends. So I go and grab some teacher friends with me, and we're going to, next time we see him, we're going to see Sam, and my teacher friends are all going to attack Sam because he scares us. Sam knows that's going to happen, so Sam goes and gets a bunch of his student friends, and now there's 6 or 7 students versus 6 or 7 teachers, and now when we meet up, we all just sit there and fight outside the school and punch each other.
Reminds me of elementary school.
Just like elementary school for so many of you. And so that's what a rumble is going to be. You have the one-on-one fights, which happen quite a bit in the story, and you're also going to have a rumble, which is me and a bunch of my friends, and then you also have what's called jumping somebody, which is going to be a different thing. Jumping somebody is when you and a bunch of your friends surprise somebody, knock them to the ground, and then before they get up, you just start kicking them and hitting them with things while they're laying on the ground, and then you run away laughing while they sit there curling in the ball, crying and bleeding.
Like
And
when
so
I
that's
tried to
jumping
steal
somebody. So there's 3 different levels of fighting. One-on-one, sneak attack, jumping, rumble, which is the big group gangs. Yeah.
So jumping someone's like an ambush.
Yes, very much so. And it's also very wussy because you wait till they walk by and then you jump out and go, booga, 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 and they go, ah! And you push them down and then you start kicking them. Or at least that's how I used to do it. Anika. You can. That's mugging. I mean, if that's how you want to do yours, Anika, I'm not one to judge. So after you knock your person down and you've kicked them a bunch of times, if you then feel like robbing them also, I'm not going to judge. I'm not personally one for robbing, but each their own. Sam?
That's how I stole the wall decorations at Chewy's.
That was because you jumped the wall decorations?
No, I jumped the workers and the customers.
That would make more sense. Now make sure when you jump somebody, It helps if you bring friends with you. You can do a one-on-one jumping, but usually it's more fun if you bring friends with you to like kick them while they're down. Bowman.
I went to court for stealing the hubcap and paid the people out of taking me to jail with the hubcap.
That's some good negotiating on that one. That's some high quality stuff. Back to our guy Dally. Dally had quite a reputation. They have a file on him down at the police station. He'd been arrested. He got drunk. He rode in rodeos, lied, cheated, stole, rolled drunks, jumped small kids. He did everything. I didn't like him, but he was smart, and you kind of had to respect him. All right, before we move on from Dally, two last things on there. One, they talk about he jumps people. Who does he jump? So the fact is, not only does he ambush people, he doesn't even ambush people his own age. He waits and finds like little kids. It's like, I got this one! And then jumps out and puts the little kid down and then kicks him. And you're like, he's not a very nice person. And the answer is, not even a little bit. It gets even worse when we get farther into it. They also mention rolling a drunk, which I'm guessing for most of you is also not an activity you're familiar with. Rolling is something like, to reference what Anika was doing. This is a thing where you go and rob. I don't mean to encroach. Is when you rob somebody. Rolling a person is when you wait till they go to a party and they have so much alcohol they pass out. And then you find them on the ground and you walk over to them and you roll them over while they're passed out on the ground. And then you take their wallet, take the money, throw the wallet back down. And that's called rolling a drunk. That's how he makes his money. He goes and finds people who have had too much alcohol. Once they pass out, he rolls them over, takes their money. And then he takes that money, then goes and jumps small children. Everyone needs a hobby. His apparently is just not being a good person.
Who said not being a good person?
I don't mean to
You're
judge.
teaching the kids lessons.
That is true. He
Like,
is
have him
helping
not
to
get
educate
jumped.
them. Why they should always take a broken bottle with them when you're walking home from elementary school. Johnny Cade was last and least. Now, if you can picture a little dark puppy that's been kicked too many times and is lost in a crowd of strangers, you'll have Johnny. He was the youngest, next to me, smaller than the rest, with a slight build. He had big black eyes and a dark tan face. His hair was jet black and heavily greased and combed to the side, but it was so long it fell in shaggy bangs across his forehead. He had a nervous, suspicious look in his eyes, and that beating he got from the socias didn't help matters. He was the gang's pet, everyone's kid brother. His father was always beating him up, and his mother ignored him, except when she was hacked off at something. And then you could hear her yelling at him clear down at our house. I think he hated that worse than getting whipped. He would have run away 1,000,000 times if we hadn't been there. If it hadn't been for the gang, Johnny would never have known what love and affection are. So, quick pause. With the kids in the gang, you have Pony Boy, the main guy telling you the story. Soda Pop, his super hunky, good-looking older brother. Derry, who's going to be the oldest brother, who's like all cold and old. Johnny, the little guy who's sort of gets beat up and looks scared. Two-Bit, who's the funny one. Steve, who's best friends with Soda Pop. And then Dally's the scary one. I am intrigued to find out what connections you guys make between those characters and people in your own life. For some of you, I know it's going to say robbing people, and you're going to be like, you know, my weekends. But for the rest of you, I look forward to seeing what kind of things you come up with. I wiped my eyes hurriedly. Did you catch him? No, I got away this time. The dirty Two-Bit went on cheerfully, calling the socias every name he could think of or make up. Kids okay? I'm okay. I tried to think of something to say. I'm usually pretty quiet around people, even the gang. I changed the subject. I didn't know you were out of the cooler yet, Dally. Good behavior. Got off early. Do you guys know what the cooler is?
Jail.
It frightens me how quickly you raised your hand on that one, Dylan. But yes, cooler means jail. That's where he was. Dallas lit a cigarette and handed it to Johnny. Everyone sat down to have a smoke and relax. I'm assuming you guys all just highlighted that part and then my last weekend. I'm making sure I know. A smoke always lessens the tension. I quit trembling and my color was back. The cigarette, are you trying to match up the names of the people in the movie? I was guessing
I
that.
need a picture.
I know you were. I was watching you look up there, then look down, look up there. I'm like, no, you're looking up all the characters in the movie and then trying to get them into your head. I'll try to go back and look up the characters and try to put little pictures up there to help you out on that one. I quit trembling and my color was back. The cigarette was calming me down. Two-Bit cocked an eyebrow. That's a nice looking bruise you got there, kid. I touched my cheek gingerly. Really? Two-Bit nodded sagely. Yeah, that's a nice cut, too. That makes you look tough. Now, tough and tough are two different words. Tough is the same as rough, but tough means cool or sharp, like a tough-looking Mustang or a tough record. You guys know what a record is?
Yes.
What?
Don't
We
look at
aren't
me like.
that young.
You know what the cooler is?
I mean, so making. Well, how many of you guys have ever played an actual record?
Fine.
All right, so you look at me like I'm a big idiot on that one. Records are from before my time, so it's not like
Sure
it's that
they
far.
are.
Okay, but they're like cool again. Like I have a record player.
Do you? I mean, I know because my kids have them too, but I didn't know you guys were cool. I just my kids were cool. So, all right, so
I don't have no.
that's what they're referring to with records. I didn't know records were tough again. See, I'm using the slang.
They aren't. They aren't.
In our neighborhood, both are compliments. Steve flicked his ashes at me. What were you doing walking by your lonesome? Leave it to good old Steve to bring up something like that. I was coming home from the movies. I didn't think. You don't ever think, Derry broke in. Not at home or anywhere when it counts. You must think at school with all those good grades you bring home. You've always got your nose in a book, but do you ever use your head for common sense? No sirree, bub. And if you did have to go by yourself, you should have carried a blade. I just stared at the hole in the toe of my tennis shoe. Me and Derry just didn't dig each other. I never could please him. He would have hollered at me for carrying a blade if I had carried one. If I brought home B's, he wanted A's. If I got A's, he wanted to make sure they stayed A's. If I was playing football, I should be inside studying. If I was reading, I should be outside playing football. He never hollered at Soda Pop, not even when Soda dropped out of school or got tickets for speeding. He just hollered at me. The tickets for speeding I highlighted in my book and I put me in high school because I got 4 tickets for speeding in high school and none since.
Let's flip.
And apparently young people drive fast. Soda was glaring at him. Leave my kid brother alone, you hear? It ain't his fault he likes to go to the movies. It ain't his fault that socials like to jump us. And if he had been carrying a blade, it would have been a good excuse to cut him to ribbons. Soda always takes up for him. Derry said impatiently, when I want my kid brother to tell me what to do with my other kid brother, I'll ask you, kid brother. But he did lay off me. He always does when Soda Pop tells him to. No, I mean, most of the time. Next time, get one of us to go with you, Pony Boy, Two-Bit said. Oh man, any of us will. Speaking of movies, Dowley yawned, flipping away his cigarette butt. I'm walking over to the nightly double tomorrow night. Anybody want to come and hunt some action? Steve shook his head. Nah, me and Soda are picking up Evie and Sandy for the game. He didn't need to look at me the way he did right then. I wasn't going to ask if I could come. I mean, I never tell Soda because he really likes Steve a lot. Sometimes I can't stand Steve Randall. I'm even. Sometimes I hate him. Derry sighed, just like I knew he would. Derry never had time to do anything anymore. I'm working tomorrow night. Dad looked at the rest of us. How about y'all? Two-Bit, Johnny Cake, you and Pony want to come? Yeah, me and Johnny will come, I said. I knew Johnny wouldn't open his mouth unless he was forced to. Is that okay, Derry? Yes, this ain't a school night. Derry's real good about letting me go places on the weekends. On school nights, I could hardly leave the house. I was planning on getting boozed up tomorrow night, Two-Bit said. If I don't, I'll walk over and find y'all. Again, sections I'm sure you guys marked for yourself, but you guys know what boozed up means?
Drunk.
Yeah.
There you go. So if he gets too boozed up and he passes out, what's someone going to do?
Roll over.
Nicely done. You guys are making your weekend plans. Steve, no. Steve was looking at Dalley's hand. His ring, which he had rolled a drunk senior to get, was back on his finger. Did you break up with Sylvia again? Yeah? This time it's for good. That little broad was two-timing me again while I was in jail. I thought of Sylvia and Evie and Sandy and Two-Bit's mini blondes. They were the only kind of girls that would look at us, I thought. Tough, loud girls who wore too much eye makeup and giggled and swore too much. I liked Soda's girl Sandy just fine, though. Her hair was natural blonde and her laugh was soft, like her china blue eyes. She didn't have a real good home or anything. She was our kind, greaser. But she was a real nice girl. Still, lots of times, I wondered what other girls were like. The girls who were bright-eyed, had their dresses a decent length, and acted as if they'd like to spit on us if given a chance. Some were afraid of us. Remembering Dallas Winston, I didn't blame them. But most looked at us like we were dirt, gave us the same kind of look that the Socias did when they came by in their Mustangs and Corvairs and yelled, "Grease!" at us. I wondered about them. The girls, I mean. Did they cry when their boys were arrested, like Evie did when Steve got hauled in? Or did they run out on them the way Sylvia did Dallas? Or maybe their boys didn't get arrested, or beaten up, or busted up in rodeos. I was still thinking about it while I was doing my homework that night. I had to read Great Expectations for English. And that kid, Pip, he reminded me of us. The way he felt marked lousy because he wasn't a gentleman or anything. And the way that girl kept looking down on him. That happened to me once. Okay, one time, I was in biology. I had to dissect a worm, and the razor wouldn't cut it, so I used my switchblade. The minute I flicked it out, I forgot what I was doing, or I never would have done it. This girl right beside me kind of gasped and said, "They're right, you are a hood." That didn't make me feel so hot. There were a lot of Socias in that class. I get put into A classes because I'm supposed to be smart. And most of them thought it was pretty funny. I didn't, though. She was a cute girl. She looked real good in yellow. 2 pauses there. It says I get put into A classes. You know what that's referring to? Yeah, where you guys are now, in advanced class. So their A classes just means advanced classes and stuff like that. And the part on there was said she was a cute girl. I'm assuming you underlined that and put Mr. Broviac because you saw the picture that Sam made of me. And that person is a female. I was pretty adorable, so I understand the connections you guys make. Or if you see my TikToks. We deserve a lot of our trouble, I thought. Dallas deserves everything he gets and should get worse if you want the truth. Too bad he doesn't really want or need half the things he swipes from stores. He just thinks it's fun to swipe everything that isn't nailed down. And I can understand why Soda Pop and Steve get into drag races and fights so much, though. Both of them have too much energy, too much feeling, no way to blow it off. "Oh, rub harder, Soda," I heard Derry mumbling. "You're going to put me to sleep." I looked at the door. Soda Pop was giving Derry a back rub. Derry's always pulling muscles. He roofs houses. He's always trying to carry 2 bundles of roofing up the ladder. I knew Soda would put him to sleep because Soda can put about anyone out when he sets his head to it. He thought Derry worked too hard anyway. I mean, I did too. Derry didn't deserve to work like an old man when he was only 20. He'd been a real popular guy in school. Was captain of the football team, had been voted Boy of the Year. We just didn't have the money for him to go to college, even with the athletic scholarship he won. And now, he didn't have time between jobs to even think about college, so he never went anywhere, never did anything anymore except work out at gyms, and go skiing with some old friends of his sometimes. The part that said real popular guy in school, I highlighted that and then put not me in high school. Sorry.
How many times did you get jumped?
In high school, only 4. I rubbed my cheek where it had turned purple. I looked at the mirror, and it did make me look tough, but Derry made me put a Band-Aid on the cut. I remembered how awful Johnny had looked when he got beaten up. I had just as much right to use the streets as the Socias did, and Johnny had never hurt them. Why did the Socias hate us so much? I mean, we left them alone. I nearly went to sleep over my homework trying to figure it out. Soda Pop, who had jumped into bed by this time, yelled sleepily for me to turn off the light and get to bed. When I finished the chapter I was on, I did. Lying beside Soda, staring at the wall, I kept remembering the faces of the Socias as they surrounded me. That blue Madras shirt the blonde was wearing, and I could still hear a thick voice. "You need a haircut, greaser?" I shivered. "You cold, pony boy?" A little, I lied. Soda threw one arm across my neck and mumbled something drowsily. "Listen, kiddo, when Derry hollers at you, he don't mean nothing. He's just got more worries than somebody his age ought to. Don't take him serious. You dig, pony? Don't let him bug you. He's really proud of you because you're so brainy. It's just Because you're the baby. I mean, he loves you a lot. You savvy? Sure, I said, trying for Soda's sake to keep the sarcasm out of my voice. Soda? Yeah. How come you dropped out? I never have gotten over that. I could hardly stand it when he left school. 'Cause I'm dumb. The only things I was passing anyway were auto mechanics and gym. You're not dumb. Yeah, I am. Shut up though, I'll tell you something. Don't tell Derry though? Okay. I think I'm gonna marry Sandy. I mean, after she gets out of school and I get a better job and everything, I might wait till you get out of school though, so I can still help Derry with the bills and stuff. Tough enough. Hey, I'll wait till I get out though, so you can keep Derry off my back. Come on, don't be like that, kid. I told you you don't mean half of what he says. Are you in love with Sandy? What's that like? It's real nice. In a moment, his breathing was light and regular. I turned my head to look at him. In the moonlight, he looked like some Greek god come to earth. I wondered how he could stand being so handsome. Then I sighed. I didn't quite get what he meant about Derry. Derry thought I was just another mouth to feed, somebody to holler at. Derry loved me? I thought those hard, pale eyes. Soda was wrong for once. I thought, Derry doesn't love anyone or anything except maybe Soda. I didn't hardly think of him as a human being. I mean, I don't care. I lied to myself. I don't care about him either. Soda's enough and I'd have him until I got out of school. I don't care about Derry. But I was still lying, and I knew it. I lie to myself all the time. I never believe me. Chapter 2. But before we get to Chapter 2, I'm going to see what connections you guys have made. I'm going to give you a few seconds to flip pages, and then you find the one that you think is strong enough so I can call on you randomly to pick on people, and you're going to tell us the page number, the connection, and then who or what you are connecting it to. So I'll let you go flippy pagey, and then once you find a thingy. So this is like a homework preview of what you're going to have to do on Thursday. I figured I'd give you a moment. Since I've been giving you all of my examples. Like that last section we just read, where it talked about like a Greek god come down to earth. He was so handsome. And I just put down my mirror. So you find the things that work best for you. Sam?
I highlighted the word nuts and wrote down squirrel.
And how does that connect to your life?
Because I've seen squirrels.
That is an interesting connection. I was going to go for a slightly stronger connection. Not that you've seen squirrels in your life. But I like the first step on that one. That was definitely something. Bowen?
Instead of putting mirror for what you did, I just put me.
See, that would work. And the connection being?
I look like that.
Naturally, that's why I needed you to be able to say those words. There you. Hi, Sam. Do you want to try again?
Yeah.
Okay.
I highlighted Will Rogers and wrote down Will Rogers.
And how's that make a connection?
Because his name's Will Rogers.
I look forward to grading your homework on Thursday. I've got a feeling it's going to be really strong. I may have already finished grading it. Let's go from Anika. Don't you eye flare me. You have there's like 12 examples of people like stabbing other people in there that you can connect to your... Hi, Anika. What do you have?
I put like on page 9 I highlighted like pretty John's lies, and that kind of reminded me because one time my brother, he's like really weird and he likes mixing he likes mixing things and making things and killing things and
No. Those things don't go together. You don't get to go mixing things, doing things, and killing things. Like, that's not all grouped in the same category. But, okay.
So he took my mom's extra ham and
That's...
he got honey and he mixed it together and he made like a bug killer.
Did it work? Okay. That is quite the connection. That's slightly more detailed than Sam's connecting the name to the same name that it was. But, all right. Gernor, what do you have?
So on page 8, it says, "You're both nuts," and that's me. Is that
What?
crazy?
Did you just make yourself plural?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that would go into the nuts part. I mean, if you see yourself as more than one person, then go you on that one. Elena.
Oh, I don't know.
Have you found a thing?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So on page 10, it says you couldn't shut up that guy, and that's like a lot of like my family, and like I used to have this one friend group that all they did was talk.
So unlike third period, where we're all quiet, your family's more talkative. Oh, I can roll with that. Hi, Sam, for the 12th time. Are we going to try a little bit better?
Alright,
Okay.
so I highlighted, you couldn't shut up that guy. And
Uh-huh.
I wrote down Brovicast.
That would work. I mean, that's frighteningly accurate. I cannot throw shade at that one at all. Taylin!
So literally mostly every single thing that like he's saying about soda pop, I wrote about like my brother. But there's this one part where me and my brother both agree on this. So I highlighted the whole section where it's like on page 13 where it's like me and Derek just kind of dig each other and it was like everything where it's like going back and forth. And I put my stepdad because he is exactly like that. Like nothing is good enough for him.
That'd be a solid connection. Tomorrow, those of you who have not had a chance to pick on yet, we're going to give you a chance. We'll give Sam another 15 chances. And we'll get a chance to go from there. No homework of reading yet. We'll still read together. All right. I'm done with you.